Hello, everyone. Bem-vindos ao English Legal Talks da Bilingual Minds. Esta é uma série gratuita em inglês em que abordaremos tópicos da atualidade do contexto legal. Ela foi criada pela Bilingual Minds para acompanhar o nosso conteúdo de inglês jurídico. Na primeira edição, vamos falar sobre deportações nos Estados Unidos, as últimas notícias e eventos recentes na atual administração Trump, dissecadas pelo nosso professor de inglês jurídico Fábio Schlichting, advogado empresarial. Eu sou Simon Banha, diretor de cursos da Bilingual Minds, especialista em gestão de educação, e juntos vamos apresentar o nosso primeiro English Legal Talk. O English Legal Talks é um conteúdo suplementar dos nossos cursos de inglês jurídico, e se você quiser se aprofundar mais sobre este e outros assuntos, siga os links que estão na descrição deste vídeo. Enjoy the content!
And talking about cases like that, asylum seekers, political refugees, can those people be deported too?
Yes, Simon, when you think about international drug trafficking, right? In any situation, in any form of documentation that you have, even though you have the green card, right? We can notice that nowadays the idea is these big crimes, they have to be respected by any kind of American citizen, right? We also notice that the case about Elon Musk, I don't know if you remember recently, Elon Musk is an American citizen, right? Even though he was born in South Africa, he's been in the States for a long time. And the actual administration is going to consider sending him back to his country, to his homeland. Of course, there is no order yet. There's no official order for this case, but no one is safe. Let's say no one is safe anywhere in the world because administrations in general, they have the right to, think about national security as well, right? So many possible situations or many cases in which they see, okay, this person is already an elderly person, of course, but he was doing something wrong or he did something wrong in the past. He was a Nazi in, Nazi Germany during World War II, or he's been investigated by, Interpol and all. So no one is safe. That's the first thing. But most important cases, in which, refugee seekers could be deported to their own countries. Like when you get their claim rejected, right? You say, okay, trying to stay here, but there are no fundamentals for him to stay in there, right? So the fundamentals are too weak, or the reasons why I want to stay in this country, they're not really the ones that the law mentions, right? Or when there is a quick screen failing, right? Let's say when you credit fear, let's say, okay, there's war in my own country, but there is no real fear because I'm not a politician in my own country. I'm sorry, go back to the Philippines, even though there is this political unrest in your own country. And when you, let's say, okay, in the States it's hard to tell, but okay, let's say I entered Canada first, right? I entered Canada first. Canada is a safe country, of course. Love Canada, but for some reason I really wanted to go to the States. So you go to a first country like Canada, but you really want to go to another one, then you go to the States, then you ask for asylum in the United States. It doesn't really make sense to ask for asylum in the second country because you were already in a safe country before. You didn't stay there because you wanted to stay here. So it has nothing to do with being safe, but it has to do with being safe in the place that I want to be, right? So that's a little bit too much, let's say, right? You had a chance to be in a safe place, but you didn't accept it. And of course, serious misconducts, right? Like serious crimes that I mentioned before, right? So the protection, right, of asylum is not going to be considered. And also, if you think about homosexuals, countries in which homosexuals can be killed too, of course, when there is death and life at risk, they're not gonna send you back to your country, to your own country, if they know you're gonna be killed when you go back, right?
Sure.
And of course, the international amnesty is gonna go there, and say, of course, even though the president wanted this, all the judges said that you could go back, you committed crimes in the States, so what is the best solution? Instead of kicking you out of the country, to go to detention in your own country, you stay in detention here, right? So you go to jail here in the United States because even though you're there for the rest of your life, you're gonna have life, to enjoy even though you're in jail. Not if you go back to your country where you can be killed right away because of,
Yeah.
sexual orientation and stuff.
That's true. And I guess that brings us back to that idea of the sanctuary cities. What is their role? I mean, protecting the individuals like those, for example, that you mentioned, from a deportation process. How do they work? What are sanctuary cities? Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah, well, let's say when you think about a sanctuary in general, it's a place that you feel safe. Right? So you can pray, you can think about God in case you do, you can think about any kind of energy that would, bring you, something good to life. Sanctuary cities do more or less the same work, right? You are in New York City, a typical sanctuary city, right? Let's say the city, the mayor protects you, right? So you don't have to tell anyone that you are undocumented. Even though people force you to do so, you don't have to, right? That's a sanctuary city, right? The mayor protects me, right? Anywhere I'm here, I can be safe. I'm just looking for a job, or I'm just looking for medical treatment, or I'm just looking, to, play some sports here, or just, uh, register my kids at school. So you don't have to tell anyone who asks you, about your documentation status. That's the first thing. They could be police officers, they could be school principals, college deans, and etc. That's the first thing. You can refuse, right? You can refuse ICE requests. But this thing, Simon, was up to, let's say, a month ago, right? So the sanctuary cities, when you think about all this protection they had, right? Even the ICE had no power in the sanctuary cities. You could see that's why even these ICE workers or ICE agents wouldn't work, at least not in the streets, during before this administration, right? This presidential administration, they wouldn't have much to do in the streets, because people had the right to not respect their orders, their requests, right? And also you can share less information. Let's say you want to rent an apartment, right? Let's say, come from Uganda, right? I want to rent an apartment. Oh, you're from Uganda. We want to see your immigration documents coming to the United States. You don't have to. Just say, okay, I'm from Uganda. Here's my passport. That's it. If you want to make a copy of it, good. But it has nothing to do, or you didn't have to, right? Show your status, right? Your immigration status. And people who would do so, they would be committing a crime, right? So let's say owners of business, right? Business owners, who wanted to hire someone, if they ask for, these people immigration statuses, right? They were committing a crime in sanctuary cities. They could even be, in trouble with the law over there. But basically, there were safe places, for you to go when you were undocumented, but that was, let's say, until the last administration.
And how are these cities declared sanctuary cities? I mean, is that an official affirmation that they go through? Is that legal anywhere all over the United States?
Yeah, Simon, you see a lot of NGOs in these places, right? Let's say New York City, you go to JFK, you arrive at the States, but you have no money to stay a day in New York City, right? You see hotels, right? You see hotels near the JFK, right? Places like this that bring all of this protection. People at the airport know, right, where these places are. They could guide you to go to this place. So you have like a net of people, right? There's a network of people to protect you, you know. That's public workers, that's schools, universities, you know. So many people around you, you would immediately notice that you are welcome to this place. And they declare themselves as sanctuaries too.
Oh, they do that.
So
I
yeah,
see.
we are a sanctuary city. If you're suffering, you know, Newark, for example, come here to New York. You're safe here, you know. There are safe points, you know, for these people to go to.
Interesting. Talking about deportations over the years now, and since, of course, it's a very timely topic nowadays, but how has that evolved or changed over different presidential administrations in the US?
Well, this is an interesting question, Simon, because when you talk about the actual administration, people go crazy that, oh my God, so many people have been deported, and we haven't seen this before. But I brought here some data to you, right, just for you to take a look at. During the Obama administration, right? If you think about, let's think about a fiscal year. That's why we cannot really evaluate the actual Donald Trump administration because the first fiscal year hasn't ended yet. But if you think about the Obama administration, had two administrations, right? Two terms. So there
Right.
was an average of 375,000 deported people per year. Think about that,
That's, yeah,
375,000 people per year. It's a lot
that's a
of
lot
people.
of people.
That's a lot of people. If you think about Donald Trump, the first administration, right? It was similar to Obama, but what is the difference? Obama was in the office for 8 years. Trump was there for only 4 years, so you couldn't really compare them. But it was roughly around 375,000 as well, but for 4 years of administration only, right? And if you think about Biden, right? Biden had like an average. Let me see if I find it here. The numbers were much lower, but like the highest we had, Simon, was 271,000 in 2024. So was the highest. But if you think about 2022, that was just, sorry, 2021, that was just 59,000. So I don't have the average here, but the numbers are much lower with Joe Biden, right? So yeah, it's hard to compare, but it's also hard to believe, and it has nothing to do with political parties. People go like
Yes.
Republicans deport more people than Democrats. Not really. If you compare two Democrats here, Obama and Joe Biden, right? Obama was much stricter than Biden in terms of deportations, right? And Trump, we still have to wait for the end of the second term to compare him to Obama fully, you know. But let's say for the first 4 years, Trump had more or less the same average as Obama, right? So the numbers, in my opinion, are very high, right? And we also have to take into account that during the Biden administration, there was a pandemic, right? So, and right after that, there was a change in policy because, you know, we went through the economic crisis and all, and there were too many undocumented people. So that's why the number rose a little bit after the end of the pandemic with Biden, but still not that much compared to Donald Trump before and to Obama as well.
True. When we think about immigrants, whether legal or illegally having come to the United States to live, normally we think about the big cities, you know, where supposedly it's easier to find a job. But also, we know, of course, that these programs can direct immigrants to smaller cities. And I imagine that maybe the impact economically and socially is quite different from immigrants in big cities. What happens in those cities? What's the impact they have for those local communities when they go through high deportation numbers?
Simon, the impacts I noticed, right, thinking about all the legal system in the United States, right? They're like more connected to the economy, right? Economical facts, factors than legal factors. If you think about social impacts, we also have a lot of social impacts. So the ones that I think about right now, thinking about, thinking sociologically a little bit, right? If you think about the jobs, right, you see a lot of concerns when it comes to jobs, right? In two different ways. Like the first way is like, okay, maybe specific jobs that, let's say immigrants from specific countries would fulfill. Now we don't have people to work in these areas anymore because, local people wouldn't get these jobs. They don't want this kind of jobs, right? That's one
Mm-hmm.
first possibility, like having fewer workers, to render services to different areas. Another one is also the spending of money. Let's say specific community, I say people from Argentina would spend a lot of money in restaurants. Nowadays, we don't see a lot of restaurants operating because all this community is gone. So the spending of money, right? So they lose money because this undocumented people don't waste or don't, use or pay for the services in these communities anymore.
For sure.
Also, the taxes, when you're talking about before the sanctuary cities, sometimes there are small sanctuaries too. These people pay taxes too, even though they are in the States, they pay taxes, in different ways. So the government collects, less also, especially in income taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when you think about small businesses, they suffer a lot, both because they don't have workers sometimes to work for them, and
Mm-hmm.
the customers are also gone, right? So they
Mm-hmm.
suffer twice, right? And if you think about social impacts, it's not just economical impacts, but social impacts. Sometimes you have broken families, right? Mentioning the guy who came from Canada before. I don't know the outcome of the story, but maybe the kids lived in the state, stay in the States with a grandparent. He's in Canada now. So you're breaking a family. It can cause a lot of stress, instability, waking up, sorry, raising your grandkids when you're sick is not an easy task, or maybe growing up without your parents is also a problem for you, maybe psychological problems, not just social, but psychological. This fear and distrust too, like distrust in the
Mm-hmm.
government, agencies in general. They're gonna, maybe these kids are gonna look at officers in general not as friends to protect you anymore, but they'll start worrying that maybe they're doing something wrong, that they're making doing something bad, to the United States. This mental restraint too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sadness, families who don't have a member anymore, or maybe neighborhoods too. We had a lot of fun, a lot of quinceañeras here with these Mexican communities who lived around me. There are no more quinceañeras anymore. Or and also these bonds, let's say if you think about Boston, for example, that's a place where you see a lot of Brazilians, right? Maybe with this deportation, right? All these people leaving Boston, events that would only happen with these immigrants, or also the mixture of different cultures is so positive, in my opinion, to communities in general. So they're gonna lose that different languages, you know, around you too. The possibility of learning different languages. There's so much to lose, so many social impacts, that it's hard to evaluate. But also, um, if you think about law in general, human rights, they have to be respected in many ways, right? So when you see that a deportation sometimes has to do uh, with ethnic cleansing, like when you
Mm-hmm.
think about the past, like
Yes.
places
Mm-hmm.
like Yugoslavia, in which Slobodan Milosevic kicked out like lots of people just because they had a specific religion or because they belonged to a specific ethnic group. that's also a crime, that's considered
Mm-hmm.
like an international crime. But of course, I'm not saying that this is what's happening in the States right now, but if one day it is noticed that a specific group of people is suffering a lot because of these deportations, we can also have to consider, this international instances, right, to try to take this, cases and, probably, punish the ones responsible for that. But up to now, I noticed that in the States, uh, it's that's a right that's the right of the American president, to deport people. You notice, right, Simon, that Obama has deported other people, Biden too, Trump as well. So I think most importantly than just having the right to do so, I think the way you do it has, it's also important. And if you're being deported, okay, you can notice, okay, I was here undocumented, but I was respected. I was kept, with food. I was kept with my kid. I went back to my own country without handcuffs, like a regular passenger on a plane. And
Mm-hmm.
if all of this is respected, I don't think there is a reason for these deported people uh, to be to have any claim to the country because, okay, they were there undocumented. They run the risk, right? They ran the risk of being there illegally, right, undocumentedly. And the only thing the president did is what he was entitled to do before. But we still have to wait a lot. That's been just 7 months, with this new administration. Let's see what comes next.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, we don't have a pandemic anymore. Imagine the hassle we'd have to go through if that happened during the pandemic, right,
Yeah,
Simon?
for
You know,
sure. Mm-hmm.
but there are many impacts, right? And I think it would be nice. I don't know if you agree with me to have like a different or like one more talk like this, about the way it is right now in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
because we talked about how, legally speaking, how it should be, we know
Mm-hmm.
that law is not like mathematics, it's not
Mm-hmm.
so obvious, there are many things to take into account, like politics, sociology, the economy too, all these bonds, let's say United States and Latin America, uh, Europe and South America and Brazil. So all these arrangements have to be considered when you think about deportation. We see a lot going on right now in Portugal too. I don't know if
As
you
well, yes.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
Portugal as well. So we have the
Mm-hmm.
States, Portugal, Italy also brought some changes now with for citizens, right? Like people who maybe before could become
Mm-hmm.
Italian citizens, not anymore. So the laws are stricter when it comes to getting double or dual citizenship, right? So I think it would be nice to talk about the
Yeah.
world, right now with all of this
Mm-hmm.
scenario, and the implications of these decisions, basically of
Mm-hmm.
presidents, right, in general. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it has to do with right wing, left wing. It's just something that they could do anytime they wanted.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, it's a big issue now all over the world, in Europe as well. Well, we're coming to the end of our talk. I don't know, Fabio, if you have anything else you would like to say in terms of concluding the topic for today.
Simon, I think that for people who are learning English, right, especially for lawyers, judges, prosecutors, public workers, people who have all these interests in learning legal English, right? And of course, people from different areas as well, people who are interested in politics and in law, even people who work with logistics, office workers, doctors and etc. It's a nice way to practice the language too. I think having the stocks, make the language makes the language more vivid, more connected to their lives. Like why is this deportation policy in the United States affecting me here in São Paulo, you, Simon, in
Mm-hmm.
Brazil, Maria in Mozambique. So all these implications, and it's a moment for you to practice the language with so many specific words. If you think about it, this is not something that we talked about at a bar with our families in English, right? So I think it's a nice opportunity to practice English with technical words, with technical terms, and with people who work in the area, like or people who read the news and see what's going on in the world. But for me, it was a pleasure. I liked it very much.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime we could do this, I'm here for this. It's a topic that I like very much, and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
glad that we have this new course now.
Yeah, this is great. So this has been a very enlightening conversation on the topic of deportation and the American legal system. I would like to thank Fábio Schlichting once again. Fábio is our teacher for legal English courses. I am Simon from Bilingual Minds. It's been great to have you. Goodbye.
Bye bye.